Hello.
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 Hi there.
Hello and welcome to the Football Times podcast this week. My name is Michael Potts. I'm the sport editor here at radiotimes.com, and today I'm joined by absolutely nobody because the match of the day team has gone away. I'm very much alone here and staring at an empty chair, which I'm going to spin around, and yeah, I mean, who knows how this is going to go. We will be rounding up, or I will be rounding up, the weekend's Premier League fixtures on TV. We've got 5 games for you this week, including a couple of crackers, such as the Manchester derby. But first, we will dive straight into tomorrow's lunchtime kickoff. That's on Saturday, 7th of December. It's on BT Sport 1 at 12:30. It's Everton versus Chelsea. So at the time of recording, Marco Silva has just been fired. Marco Silva is gone finally. Probably, I can't believe they didn't actually get rid of him sooner. But he is no longer there. Duncan Ferguson come in as caretaker. And so David Moyes has been linked with a return to Everton. As a Sunderland fan, not my biggest, my first choice to get that job. Crack out your Anichebe, Pienaar, Lescott, Gibson shirts. He's getting the band back together. If you're wondering why we are in League One, I think it's probably because he signed all of those players as recently as 2017 in the Premier League. They're a talented squad, Everton. They maybe just lack that bit of character. I think we've spoke about this before. I think it's one of those where change was very much needed. They made a big play to get him in the first place. It just hasn't worked out. I think so many defensive frailties there. It's really hard to defend, literally hard to defend, despite the fact that his Leicester and Liverpool games were probably 2 of the best performances of the season from his side. Moving on, Everton will they'll host Chelsea. Bit of a test for Lampard. The honeymoon streak, you feel, is perhaps over. A couple of defeats on the bounce, draw with Valencia in the middle, but they did get back to winning ways. With a 2-1 win against Aston Villa midweek. Great that Tammy Abraham was fit. I think he's a bit of a focal point that Chelsea need up there. Obviously a lot of attacking midfielders in that squad, capable of doing plenty of damage themselves. But yeah, I just think it's really nice to have him back there, that sort of predatory striker up top. He's maturing into a really very, very good Premier League striker. Mason Mount, fair play. That was some strike from Mason Mount. Technique was outstanding, really. I think we maybe forget him amongst the likes of Pulisic going forward. But Mount, he seems to be a little bit deeper. Just arrives in that box at the right time, and we've heard that before about a certain English attacking midfielder who may or may not be the head coach of Chelsea now. He's finding those Lampard spaces and knows how to strike a ball when he gets into those positions. Chelsea going to win here. I think Chelsea are going to win. I think both teams to score is a pretty safe bet when it comes to Chelsea. Fancy them. Maybe a 2-1 win there. Quite narrow, but they'll get it done. Moving on to 5:30 p.m. on Saturday, the 7th of December. It's Sky Sports Premier League and main event. It's Manchester City versus Man United. Some heavyweight showdowns between these two lately. There should be no exception. Manchester City. So Gabi Jesus, phenomenal the other night. If you got around to watching it on Amazon Prime, and your internet didn't cut out like mine. Gabi Jesus, a few great strikes in there. Just chatting to my housemate about him the other day, and I was wondering whether Jesus, whenever he seems to play, he seems to score, and it's one of those where would he try to angle for a move away? Would he look abroad? Would he look for I don't know, somebody just a new challenge than sitting on that bench? But he's only 22. I couldn't believe he was only 22. I thought he was pushing 24, 25, but he is still very young. His record for City is phenomenal. I've got some stats here. Scored 52 and 118 all competitions for City. So many of those from the bench as well. And Premier League wise, it's not a case of just turning up against the smaller teams in the cups, etc. He's made 80 appearances in the Premier League, 39 of those from the bench. So let's just say basically half of those from the bench or substituted. He's got 32 goals and 11 assists. That is some going for a 21-year-old-ish or early 20s striker, just arrived in the Premier League. And he's hit the ground running as well as he possibly could have. Aguero potentially going back to Argentina at some point, and when he does, they've got their ready-made replacement there. Also a shout out to Rodri, bit of a juggernaut pressing machine in the middle against Burnley. Sterling maybe a little off key, but Mahrez coming in and proving his worth. United, gutsy win against Spurs. That's a big result for them. I'm sure they'll have not enjoyed that at all, getting one over Jose Mourinho, spoiling his big dramatic night at Old Trafford. Rashford on the score sheet twice. Intriguing to see Lingard and Greenwood both play with Martial out. But they got the job done. They're such an unpredictable team. They're predictably unpredictable in the way they set up sometimes, in the fact that they persist with Fred sometimes. You're never quite sure what you're going to get from United. Surely City have to win this one. But United, I mean, when they turn up in games like that, when Maguire is marshalling the defence well, it could throw up some surprises. I still think City should do it, but it won't be a blowout win, I don't think, this one. Moving swiftly on to Aston Villa versus Leicester. It's on Super Sunday. It's a 2:00 kickoff on Sky Sports, Premier League and main event. Aston Villa, interesting team. Looked like a decent outfit across most of the pitch. I think Wesley's struggling up top. I think Smith doesn't really fancy Jonathan Codger, who was a big player for Villa in the Championship. He was injured for a while and sort of maybe lost his place when Smith became manager. But yeah, he seems to be on the bench every week without really making an impact. I certainly haven't seen him play this season. Keenan Davis is another one, young striker who we haven't really seen too much of in the Premier League. He's injured at the moment, but you maybe think that Wesley, he looks so isolated. It must take something out of you. You know, young striker, big target man striker with nothing to feed on, really. Has a lot of talented players behind him who are capable of getting up there, scoring the goals. But yeah, it must just drain you a little bit when you're running about for 90 minutes and not really seeing any of the ball. Potentially need a plan B there, and they may need a plan B, C, D, E against Leicester, who are phenomenal right now. 2-0ing their way to the title race. Another big win over Watford the other day. Another penalty, another goal for Vardy. James Maddison getting in there. Not really much to say other than they very much are in a title race. I think 8 points adrift of Liverpool. I'd actually argue they've got a stronger defence. They're keeping so many clean sheets at the minute, and that's what's got them sitting in this position. It's not the fact that they're outscoring every team by 4 or 5. They're just not conceding goals. I think it's 4 clean sheets in 5, and still won the game they conceded in. So I don't see how you can get any better than that right now for Leicester. And cutthroat in attack with Vardy and the likes. So many people saying they'll run out of steam. We said this before, and they did not run out of steam. I think Leicester have got this one wrapped up this weekend. Whether they've got the title, who knows? We'll come and chat in March, in May, when we have some of our Match of the Day guys back. Moving on, the final game on Super Sunday, we have a 4:30 kickoff, Sky Sports Premier League and main event. It's Brighton versus Wolves. Brighton, big win yesterday against Arsenal. Regardless of Arsenal's current state, that's such a good result for them. Good to see Maupay getting on the score sheet. He has sort of been tasked with a lot of the goal-scoring burden. Not quite turning up every week, but to see him just chipping in with those crucial goals like that, 3 points on the road at the Emirates, fair play to them. And Wolves, again, got to mention that Europa League run is still going very strong. And despite all of that, they're still turning up for every Premier League game. It's pretty relentless stuff from them. Good to see Catrone getting a run out and scoring the other day. Very highly rated in the past in Serie A. And it's one of those players who you just expect if he can just... Maybe similar to Gabi Jesus. If he can become that that super sub, that would be such a boost for them. I know Jimenez is their main man and will continue to be their main man. But if Gutron can prove his worth as a player from the bench, they could it's just another string in the bow, really, isn't it? Fancy maybe a draw in that one. Not an easy place to go, Brighton. Wolves, like I say, they've had so many games. Will they get tired? Will they just keep powering on? Going to stick with a draw for that one. And finally, for the weekend, or week start, as we want to call it, it's Monday Night Football. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff between two absolutely mental teams. We have West Ham and Arsenal going head-to-head at the London Stadium. It's just a mad game, this. So West Ham, squad of individuals, they do have a lot of players capable of beating any team in the league, and yet they can't stitch anything together in any form of consistency. I think maybe similar to Wesley, I think you see Haller being isolated up top, and yeah, just a weird football team. This is a great chance for them to get some points. They beat Chelsea last weekend, fell to a defeat midweek, and I guess they'll be hoping to bounce back in this one against another side who, like I say, are going to be gunning for that top 6, even though they're probably not going to get it. Freddie Ljungberg, small cog in a very, very big machine that is not working at Arsenal so far. He's not really had the impact. I don't think anybody really... I mean, can you have an impact with that squad? Can you really coach that defence to defend? I'm very much not sold on that. They need a huge January transfer window. Head of football, Raul Sanley. I'm gonna stick with that pronunciation. He is under the microscope to bring in the right manager and just to get, like I say, give the manager a chance. Give Emery, like I say, he obviously failed in the end, but I do feel sorry for him. I think when your head of football is presenting players like David Luiz to step up and be the defensive rock you know he's not going to be, they just didn't give him a chance, really, did they? And I worry that whoever comes in, is it just going to be the same thing again? Decent coach, but with no weapons, no tools to build with. I was having to think about who should actually get this job, and I mean, there's such a trend of going for, the Lampard sentimental option. Patrick Vieira's name keeps cropping up. I wonder if Arteta would get in there. Ljungberg, they want Ljungberg to succeed. They want the cheap in-house option, I reckon. But yeah, I think Vieira's an interesting one, though. It's quite ironic that all these probably 15 years worth of trying to fix the problems left by the departure of Vieira, they're going to try and fix it by bringing back Patrick Vieira. He'd probably do a better job in midfield than the current lot. Prediction for this one? I mean, really, it's just anything, isn't it? Anything could happen in that one. I've got to lean towards Arsenal with Aubameyang and Lacazette up there, both firing in the goals. I say it's just a crazy game though, which could go either way. Now my rant/monologue here is almost done. Normal service will be resumed next week. My fantasy Premier League tips for you all. So I jumped straight for Ali and Son last week. Ali looks like a top bet. Phenomenal touch for his goal against United. It's one of these strange things where Mourinho has said Ali will be the focus of our team, and Ali is the focus of their team now. So jump straight on him if you can afford it. I think Salah and Sterling, probably two players who you might want to ship out now. I think for the money they cost and the ways you can reinvest that into other players, I think they're probably two options who you can maybe look away from. Also, James Maddison, great shout at 7.6 million. Quite tricky to get in there though. If you've doubled up on Leicester defenders, which you really should have, and you have Vardy in there, then Maddison could be one of those little differential options. If a lot of your friends have gone for the two defenders and Vardy approach, and a couple of bargain strikers, Danny Ings, 6.2 million, will not stop scoring, and Lys Mousset will not stop scoring, 5.1 million, starting striker in the Premier League. Thank you very much for listening to my inner ramblings. We will return on Football Times with a full stack from next week. Hope you've enjoyed this one. Thank you very much for listening. Cheers.